Hey, everybody. Welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kirby. And of course, we talk with people who are going to help our small and medium-sized nonprofits do more good in their community. And can you really do good for those that you're serving if nobody knows who the hell you are? That's a great question to ask yourself as you're leading into 2022. And imagine if you were at a local coffee shop, and imagine if you're sitting there and you stand on a chair and you yell out, "Hey, this is my organization." How many people are going to know who you are and what you do? Let's solve this today, shall we? Let's talk about how more people are going to get to know you, more eyeballs on your organization and your nonprofit. And how are we going to do that today? Well, you're in luck because my guest is going to explain it in a nice, super easy way using Google Ad and Google Ad grants. Chris Barlow. He is the founder of Beeline. He joins us today. He's the customer happiness director at Beeline. Joins us today. Chris, welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast.
Awesome. It's great to be here, Patrick. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited just to find a fellow nerd who also helps nonprofits.
This is going to be a nerdy episode, but it's going to be done in a way that everybody's going to be able to understand, which I appreciate today. So here's the deal. And people are going to walk through and they're going to scroll through their iTunes. They're going to get this brand new episode. They're going to go Google Ad Grant, genius. Yes, please. But maybe they don't know who you are or what you do. So for the people who are just tuning in, why don't you give everybody a high 5,000 foot view on who you are, what you do, and why we're talking today.
Awesome. So I started Beeline in 2015 just as I want to do marketing of some kind. And I volunteered with a local nonprofit. And I said, hey, I just need to get some experience under my belt. Can I help you guys with your marketing? Can I run your Google ad campaigns and just help you out? And it kind of just snowballed from there. And they started referring other nonprofits to me. At some point, they were like, look, we've got budget and what you're doing is worth something. We want to pay you. You don't need to go volunteer anymore. And that was, so exciting and a boost of confidence. And so we focus specifically on helping nonprofits align their marketing with their mission and their fundraising with their mission. And we do that, that plays out through helping them find new donors and expand the reach of their mission and using Google Ads and Google Ad grants specifically, and all the things that come around that are necessary in order to make that work.
If your ears haven't perked up as a listener to what I can use Google Ads to gain more donors and let people know, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. Well, before we get into that, because I think there's got to be a holistic approach to your marketing plan, right? And I want to say it for the front end. If you only do this, it's probably not going to be as great as a lot of different things, right? You want to make sure you're speaking to a lot of people. You want doing speaking gigs. You're going to want to write your regular columns and blog and do whatever you do normally in your marketing. This is an additional layer that's going to take all of that and really buttress it and make you visible in the world's best search engine, even though my wife works for another company that has another search engine. But we won't talk about that. We're talking about Google, right? So this, just want to be very clear that this is an angle and a segment to your marketing plan that really is beneficial, takes a lot of what you're already doing and then making it visible to everybody else, right?
Yeah, it amplifies it. That's exactly it.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about ways we can organically grow some of our Google reach, because I think that's going to help us set the table for using the ads and then the ads grant and how we're going to get that as well. Walk me through a really high level. Let's see, what do we need to do to grow our SEO,
Sure.
right? Our search engine optimization. How do we do that first in complementary form here?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll first say when you're on Google on the results page at the very top, sometimes you'll see ads and there's a little designation that says ads, and then below those ads, usually there are 3 or 4 of them. Sometimes there's a map result, and then there are the organic results. And that is when you talk about SEO, search engine optimization, you're talking about the organic results. There's a lot to SEO. Obviously, that could be a topic in and of itself, but from a high level, some of the main things that help you are reviews, the amount of time that people spend on your site, and the other sites that have authority in Google's eyes that link to your site. So if you have a government website that links to you, you have a .edu website, a school, a university that links to you, if you have other sites that get a lot of traffic that are very well known that link to you, that is going to help your SEO, because that tells Google, those are signals that say, Google, this is a site that's high quality that other people know about, or that the important websites know about, that are linking to your site or your organization. But if that can be a lot. And so one of the simplest things you can do is to get more reviews. And that can especially help you on a local level. And one of the best strategies I recommend for doing reviews is create a very simple survey. And as soon as someone has an experience with you, whether they're a volunteer, a donor, or someone you've served through your programs, send a text and say, did you have a 5-star experience with us? Yes or no? If they click yes, send them to the survey and say, would you please write us a review? And then you can link, you can actually even link, you either link them to the survey or link them to a Google review page where they can leave a review directly inside Google. And that way they've already said, yes, I had a 5-star experience. And so then when they go to leave the review, they'll give you a 5-star review. If they say no, don't send them to the Google review page. That's where you send them to a survey or a form where they can fill in their feedback for you and tell them that's going to go directly to our leadership or to this person. And they are going to take it into account, and they can even reach back out to you if you like.
Freaking brilliant and super easy. And again, this tangible thing that you can do now, or, over a course of a day or two, is just kind of create something like that. That's really easy. Now, this is going to require you to know that your business page that's on Google, and you're going to have to Google that. But we're not going to talk about that today because it's easy to do. You should just go look it up and do it. But and then from that, you can go on that page and say, hey, find more reviews, click the link, and that's kind of how you do it. But that's a really great way of engaging people who've had a great experience and then harnessing that. But more brilliant is if you didn't have a good experience, tell us why that's not on Google. Because that, I think, is a really smart way of getting rid of, random trolls. It's giving people an opportunity to just complain in public. It's like, you don't want the Yelp reviews of, the Google world, because that, and again, you can use that as a catalyst to either change their mind or remedy the situation too, to give them a chance to have a 5-star experience, and then they can go out and do a 5-star Google review. That's brilliant. Another best practice too is if you have people who are typically within your organization or work with you, simply ask, hey, would you go to Google and give us a review? Great, here's a link. They're not, most people do not actively pursue, like, what 5-star review of businesses can I do today? Like, it's not necessarily the case. So asking others to do that on a regular basis, and then as part of your onboarding or offboarding to either a volunteer or a donor or whatever, somebody who's using your services or programs, great idea.
Yeah.
And then people are looking, like, again, third-party endorsement is exponentially more important than first-party solicitation. People expect you to talk nicely about your organization, but they don't expect total strangers that they don't know to do it. And somehow we have allowed this in society that we trust like strangers on the internet more than we do ourselves or our friends or our family. So you're going to go to the highest rated reviewed thing, even if you don't know who they are or what they do. And that's the draw to Google reviews. I'm just going to throw it out there as a thing that's going to be a thing. All right. So now we're going to talk about ads, because I think, we were seeing these ads or whatever. Why is it important that organizations even consider or think about ads on Google?
So there's two things. The first part is Google ads are unlike pretty much any other kind of advertising, or I should say search ads, because there are other platforms that do search ads. And the reason for that is, in most advertising interrupts a person. You've got to just pull them away from what they were doing, why they were there, and redirect them. And it's kind of, you've got to overcome the fact that it's an interruption. Whereas with Google, with search, they are coming to you. There is a demand there. And so you are responding to them. And it's almost more like a conversation. And if you can be a good listener, if you can be the best listener in the room and give them the result that they're looking for, they're going to want to click. They're going to want to interact. They're going to get what they were looking for. And if you can approach the advertising strategy like that, the marketing strategy like that, then you're going to get much better results, and you're just going to get better quality leads, because you're not interrupting people. You're not having to overcome that initial barrier. That's the first thing. The second thing, specifically for nonprofits, is Google's ad grant program that gives you free ads. It's use it or lose it money every month. Most of you have probably heard it. The program's been in existence since 2003. It's $10,000 that you can use to run ads. There are limitations. It's not a be all end all kind of thing, but it is a great program. It's a great way to start to find new people, to help people find you, to get at the very top of the search results. You don't, SEO is a marathon. Google Ads can work for you immediately. And the problem with Google Ads, if you're paying for them, as soon as you stop paying, you don't show up anymore. But with a grant, well, once you get ads that are working, as long as you keep managing it well, you're going to show up at the top. You're not going to run out of that budget. So you get one of those coveted top spots. And one of the big limitations is if someone's paying for ads and targeting the same keywords as you, their ads are going to take priority because they're paying, and Google prioritizes the paid ads. But you can still show up for other keywords, or you can show up when they run out of budget, those kinds of things. So there's ways to overcome that. So those are the two main reasons why nonprofits should be considering Google Ads.
I love what you said about when people are Googling, it's essentially as if you're listening to their requests and then showing up magically to what they're looking for. This is very much akin to the fundraising process that everyone is used to, which is asking questions, listening for the response from a donor, and then responding in kind to whatever their questions are. So you're essentially doing what your best practice in fundraising relationship building is in the Google form. And that's what I think is so brilliant about that. And that's what's so genius about that. Sort of like, this is the best listening skill that you can have done automated for you when you're not having office hours or you're not paying attention to somebody's search history, but Google is, and they're doing your job of listening and responding the way that you would individually one-on-one.
Well, let me take it a step farther and make it practical. People only scan the Google results page for a few seconds. You aren't reading word for word every result. You're just really quick. And in active listening, one of the best techniques is to repeat the words the person used back to them. In a real conversation, you won't be word for word because I'm mocking, but in a Google ad conversation, quote unquote, you can repeat their words word for word in your first headline. And if you do that, then the user sees, oh, I typed this, I get this, that's relevant to me. And then you can kind of add some more detail and layers and context with your other headlines and description, give them a call to action. But if your first headline matches what they searched, then you're going to be among the most relevant results on the page.
Yeah.
A lot of people put their own brand, they put their own company name, they do put something about themselves, and that's not good listening.
Yep. Exactly because you're not, you're hey, look at me, instead of, oh, I hear you, here's something else. And that's such an amazing, it's amazing that Google has it down better people skills than sometimes we have, either as business owners or nonprofits, right? And nobody wants to be talked at about how awesome that you are, right? So if I go to you, Chris, let me tell you about how awesome Do Good Better is. This is what we do, and this is what we do, this is what we do. And all you're trying to get is like, can you help me with like some fundraising stuff? No, but then and I do this and this and this. So I'm just forcing you a bunch of stuff that you don't care about. In so much that if I just asked you a normal question of like, what do you care about? Then I could just match everything together. I love that. This is great. This is why AI is taking over and Terminator 2 is real. And I'm just kidding.
And that is, and if you're writing your own ads, when you're writing, Google can write ads for you. There is the AI, but you can write your own ads. And that is just a strategy I recommend, is make sure when you're organizing your campaigns, write your first ad headline to match the keywords you're targeting.
Right.
Write it as close as possible.
Yep, exactly. All right. So Google Ads, brilliant. We want to be top of the page. We want to be the first people that we want to be the first groups and organizations that they click on or see, that have the ability to click on. And that's what we're doing. But free ads, this sounds crazy. And it seems like there's a catch, Chris. This seems like that there is a catch, and I'm gonna have to pay for it somehow. And that there's no way that these things are free. This probably takes a bunch of work, and I probably can't do it. And so I'm not going to do it. Therefore, I'm not going to see the benefits, right? It's super complex and it's not easy at all, right?
Correct. I mean, so you do need to, there is a cost to it. It is, you need to either have the time to learn, have someone on your staff, who has the time to learn or already knows how to do it, or you need to hire someone to manage it, get it set up and manage it for you. And so when you're evaluating that, do we have the time or a person, or can we hire someone? You need to be looking at, is this, what kind of results can we kind of expect from it? And, because it doesn't run itself. There is not a lot of risk. You can always try it yourself. And if you don't get any results, well, you wasted a little bit of time, but it didn't cost you anything. So that is another nice thing about the program. You can always try. And if you're just wanting to run ads and you're a local, maybe you're a local homeless shelter, or you have something where you provide a really clear service that people probably are searching for, and all you want to do is link people straight to your website, and they're looking for your services. You're not trying to find donors. Then you may be able to just get it set up and run it yourself. And that's okay, because it's really simple and straightforward. If you want to grow your list, you want to build relationships, you want to, again, find more donors, it requires a very different approach and a lot more work. And so that's where you need to kind of take that into account at the beginning.
So let's run through a couple of scenarios. One, I don't have any time, or I know very little, and I just want to spend a little bit of, as little of time as I can on it, and what that would look like. Then maybe, hey, I'm going to dedicate maybe an internal staff on what that looks like. And then maybe, hey, I'm going to hire somebody, maybe like Chris, to go and run these things for me. What does that look like? So let's maybe walk through those scenarios, and then what your expectations as a nonprofit could be for using these ads before we get into how on earth we do it, right? So walk me through I'm going to casually do this. I'm going to spend a handful of time, a little bit of time crafting. What can we expect?
It depends on your niche. But like, if you have there's a lot of people searching. I mean, the limiting factor with search ads is the number of people who are searching, because you're targeting keywords. And so if only 100 people are searching for this particular thing in a given month, then you're just not going to get a lot of results, whether you have someone managing it who's an expert or you're doing it casually. If you have 10,000 people searching for it per month, you have a better chance. And if it's not a competitive term or a commercial term that a lot of businesses are going to be targeting. If you're a nonprofit and you want to target Giving Tuesday, good luck, regardless of who you have targeting it. You're not going to show up with Google Grants. Not very likely. I looked up that term. It costs like $20 per click during the peak, and it might be higher. But so your grant will never show for that. So if you pay for Giving Tuesday, then if someone clicks on an ad, it's going to cost you $20 just to get them to come to your site. Who knows if they'll even donate? And there's lots bigger organizations out there who have huge budgets who can target it. So that's not a good term to target. But if you're just casually doing it, I would say a few hours to get it set up, and then you can check in on it every so often. So I would say 5 hours to get it set up, and if you're really unfamiliar, it may take you longer. There are free courses you can watch on YouTube to get kind of a little bit of a handle on things, to start yourself started. But in terms of the results, I've heard so many stories of nonprofits who are like, we tried this ourselves and we just got nothing from it. So you just set your expectations really, really low, and be happy if you get a few dozen people who click and come through. It's free. And if that few dozen people, if you get 10 clicks, if you get 50 clicks, and all it took was that initial setup time, and that continues to stay the case, it doesn't change, then that's maybe worth time well spent. And then if you have someone internal, expect them to, if they're, if they already know what they're doing, that's a different story. But if they need to learn, then again, I would say 10 to 20 hours minimum to just get their basics underneath underneath, and then 3 to 4 hours a week. And over time, the more experience they have, they'll need less time. And yeah, I mean, they should be able to help you get more results. Again, you're limited by the number of people who are searching, but we'll have for us working with nonprofits, we'll have some organizations who spend 1 to 2,000 of that monthly grant, and then we have some who consistently spend all 10,000 of it. And it's interesting because it's not all just organizations that can target a large region. We have one organization that targets just a small radius, a 50-mile radius in Central California, and they spend all 10,000 of it. And we have some, we're here in Colorado, we have some here local in Colorado that spend 5,000 of it, and they're just targeting a population center of 200 to 300,000. So it really depends on some of those factors. But if you don't have an expert looking at it or have someone on your staff, then you're not going to have time to troubleshoot and figure out how do we actually get the most out of this.
How much of it, and before we get into like what it looks like with hiring this out, right? Because I think that's an important thing to benchmark against whatever. What are we looking at from a purpose for Google ad grants, right? So you get them to click on it and they go to a site, a place where you want them to drive. How much of it should we concentrate on the vanity numbers of like, oh, look at how many clicks we got, to conversions to something? Because what I imagine is that a lot of nonprofits who might be deep diving into this say, hey, we got a lot of clicks, but nothing happened after that because our call to action wasn't great. Walk through how important that is to, once they get to wherever you want them to go, have them do something, right? At least sign up for something or be interested or click for more intro. Like that has to be thought of even before you think about trying to involve yourself in Google ad grants, because what's the purpose? If you're doing this just to do it, that's a waste of time. Walk me through this because I'm curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you're, again, just kind of doing this casually, then your win is clicks. Of course, if you're smart, you know what you're doing, you know about marketing and how to do the technical setup of conversion tracking, because you need that piece in order to get conversions, and however you define that goal, of whether it's people who call or people who fill in a form or people who sign up for your email list or people who donate. You need to have a technical know-how. Again, if you're doing it casually, just go for clicks. If you bring someone in staff, if you hire it out, then yes, your goal needs to be conversions. Like vanity metrics are worthless. Who cares if people are clicking on your site? That only has very limited value if you're not doing anything with those visitors. So again, the low-hanging fruit for any organization is if you're offering services through your mission, through your programs, that if people are looking for that and you're providing free programming services, mission, whatever that is, to them, then it'll be a lot easier to get them to sign up for it or request it or whatever whatever step they need to take. If you're trying to get donors, Google ad grants, Google ads are not really a good program to take strangers and turn them straight into donors. You're not going to find people who like, I've never heard of you before. Oh, but I'm just going to donate to you. It's the realistic goal that you can expect and hope for and aim for is to get new subscribers of potential donors. And the reason they're going to subscribe is not because they're interested in your organization, because they're not going to be interested in your organization very much. So maybe a little bit. They're going to subscribe because they're getting something for them, because you're helping them, you're serving them, you're fulfilling your mission in a small way. You're giving your potential donors a taste of your mission by serving them, and you're finding another creative way to fulfill your mission that may not be, again, your vision of what you're wanting, but you want to bring people alongside you by serving them first, and then when they are served by you, they're helped in some practical way, they get some kind of resource, then you can point them to your mission and say, well, we helped you because that's who we're all about, and oh, by the way, this is what our big mission is all about.
Right. And again, I love what you said there, because I think this is where the expectations go a little cattywampus when you are starting some of these things where, well, we're going to get a bunch of people to click, and then they're going to click and they're going to donate, and then we're going to raise lots of money. It's not how this works, right? You wouldn't do this if you walked down the street and just yelled your organization's name in front of people's face. They wouldn't go, well, here's $10, get away from me, right? They're not going to do that. this is for eyeballs that then get to something that's tangible or something entertaining or educational that they would find interesting enough that they're like, I want more of it. That's what this is. It is a entry point into finding people who have no idea what you do, to being generally interested in what you do enough to the point you're like, I'll sacrifice my email space for a thought process. After that happens, it's on you to develop a deeper relationship with each one of these individuals and decide who you want to be in a deeper relationship with at all. This is not a fix. This is a solution to get eyeballs, but it's not a fix to fixing your mission. This is not going to fix your programs and services, et cetera. This is not going to fix how interesting you are as an organization. If you're a boring organization that has nothing to celebrate, I ain't going to fix that. But what it's going to do is give you another funnel for eyeballs to what you do. And then what you do with it there is up to you. And that is so important to make sure that people understand that if you're going to invest the time into Google ad grants or Google ads in general, or you're going to draw people to your website, what the hell are they going to do next? And are you spending time building better rapport with them now?
Yes. And email is the ideal platform to do that. Email is still the #1 marketing channel for ROI. I'm going to throw text messaging in there because you can use them. You can do the same kind of thing in the same kinds of platforms. That text is better than email, but the ratio is something like a 40-to-1 return. Every $1 you spend on email, you get a $40 return. Email, according to other data I've read, it is the #1 fundraising channel still, outside of possibly major donors, but that's not really in the marketing field. So anything else, email is still. So if you can get email subscribers, you can build a relationship with people. And that's really where it all stands is, how can you build a relationship?
And again, if you're going to capture information with people, where is there a place to capture additional information than just their email? Are you capturing their phone number? Are you capturing their actual mailing address? Are you asking them any information or questions on why they were concerned about you in the first place? Like, there's a lot of analytics that you can think about that you should be collecting that you can use to build a better strategy to approach all of them once they're in your system. And still, I think it's like 70% of all online donations are spurred from some physical, in-person, actual paper thing, like in general, like on campaigns and that kind of stuff. So you still need to build a robust plan. And again, I just can't emphasize this enough, that this is a route to get new eyeballs in a way that you're not doing it now, to position yourself as the leader and as the authority of this particular program and services and what you do.
Yes.
Free.
Yep. Yeah. It's that's the other thing is, what are you going to do with people, and then again, the value of email and text to follow up with people, and your website is that it doesn't cost you to start connecting with them and stay in touch with them.
Yeah,
So.
It's super true. Okay, so somebody listening going, well, sounds great. I don't have the time when we don't have the talent internally to do any of this. Walk us through your process, your process personally on just sort of helping organizations run this, because I feel like spending time doing stuff that you have no idea about, that has nothing to do with the actual execution of either building relationships with your donors and fundraising, or the actual programs that people want to fund in the first place, hire out to somebody else who knows what the heck they're doing. You being that person of knowing what the heck you're doing, how do you work with organizations, or what can people expect when they do reach out to somebody to manage their Google ad grant scheme to do, and then what can they expect to kind of work with them about?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you hire someone, I mean, that process, the first thing that should happen is just a really good deep dive into what your goals are, and telling you if your goals are realistic, and just saying Google grants, Google ads is a great fit for you right now, or it's not a good fit. This can do what you're looking to do, or this can't, or this is what it can do. Is this the kind of thing that you want to achieve? Would this be helpful right now?
Would you say, and I apologize for interrupting because it's such a good point though. Would you say somebody who's not asking that question or not giving you the response that way is in it for nefarious or worse than not as honest reasons as others? Because telling you that you aren't in a position to do this is probably just as good of an answer to say that we can take you from point A to point B. Right? To be honest that you're not going to be able to do any of this is an answer that I think people need sometimes to hear. And to have somebody who is in a position to help that says that, I trust them a lot more than I would anybody who just says yes to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say nefarious. You could say, I give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're just not, they're too excited.
You can say that. You can say that. I'll say it. I'll say nefarious. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's the key, because like it's all about the end goal, right? And it's not just the vanity stuff. And if I can evaluate, if we evaluate and say, yeah, your goal is really in line, then we're going to be successful. We're going to work together a long time.
Mhm.
And if what you're hoping for is not what Google can give you, no matter how good we are, then in a month or two, you're going to be like, well, this isn't working. And we'll say, yeah, right, it's not working. So let's avoid all that in the first place.
I love that.
So I think that's the first kind of real understanding. And then the other consideration is just, how much bandwidth do you have to do work on your website? Because again, like you can have the most dialed in Google Ads campaign,
Yes.
but if there's nothing on your website that helps people do the next thing, then they're not going to get anywhere. And so you either need to work with someone who can help build stuff on your site or build outside landing pages for you. And a lot of agencies and a lot of consultants can do that, including my firm. But sometimes you want to do it on your site, and you just need to make sure you have the bandwidth. And then again, if you're offering your programs and services to people, make sure you have people who can intake people who can.
Yes.
If you grow the number of people reaching out, you need to be able to respond. If you're wanting to build your donor base and grow your subscriber list, then you need to have someone on staff who is ready to keep writing content, writing emails, and planning out the strategy to build those relationships via email. Because if you get 100 new subscribers, next month, and they don't get any emails from you, then what good did it do you? So those are the other kinds of considerations. You need to have those conversations and plan that in advance, like based on your goals. If you're just doing stuff for your mission, then you might already have the intake ready and you might not need to do anything. And you need is someone like us to just dial in that Google ad campaign and start sending you people. So
what's the first step in the process in starting this whole Google ad grant? Once you're like, yep, this is something that I think would work for us. And yeah, this actually makes sense. What's like the first thing? Is it overwhelming? Is it easy? What does that look like, that first step?
So I'll give step 0 and step 1. Step 0 is get into the program if you're not into the program. And it's not a very difficult process. You have to create an account with Google for nonprofits. I'm not going to go into all the steps, but basically, if you're with TechSoup, if you already have an account with TechSoup, Google uses them to verify that you're a 501c3. And once you are in, basically the process just takes a few days to get it through the application. Once you're in, then it really starts with, okay, what are your goals? And then I need to do research keywords. I need to find what are people searching for that I think would be relevant for our organization based on our goals. So, are we targeting for donors? Are we targeting for our mission? What are we targeting for? And then you need to figure out, okay, there's enough people searching and then, thinking about like, what area can we target? Are we an organization that we can target anyone, anywhere in the world, or in the US or Canada, or our state, or is it just our city? So you're doing your keyword research based on the location you can actually target and seeing how much search volume there is in that area. And then
maybe can I stop you there? Because I'm curious how on earth you do that, right? So if you're a nonprofit and you work with individuals with, let's say broadly, developmental disability and delay, how on earth are you doing research on the individuals who would be interested in your services as a start? Because that statement alone, going research keywords, that gave someone several aneurysms or fits of rage, because I think that to somebody who has no idea what that is, very confusing.
Yeah. So there's a free tool that Google provides.
Mhm.
If you can even create an account without a grant or anything, you can just go to ads.google.com. Once you have that account, you have to put in any payment information. Under their tools, you'll see a keyword planner. And in the keyword planner, you can put in the location you want to target. You can put the date range. I usually recommend 1 month, just like last month or whatever. And then input the keywords. And Google will not only tell you how many people on average estimated searched for those keywords last month, they will give you other related keywords that are similar. And so that is a great free tool. There are other
Brilliant.
tools that you can get online that you pay for, and sometimes they're worth paying for, because that Google Keyword Planner, there are certain keywords they will not give you the search volume for whatever reason. Like if you have programs for kids, if you put kids or children in the search term in the Keyword Planner, you're not going to get any results. It doesn't give you anything. So you have to use paid services for that to get that kind of information.
But even if you get that information, and let's just say Google Ad Grants is not a thing for you, even if you get that information, every video that you post, you can tag with those specific keywords, right? And that you know about, right? The posts that you have on Instagram or on Twitter or on things that, and even Facebook now is using a little bit of a hashtag bit here now, is that you now know that people who are looking for that are going to look at yours. And so you can use even that initial research piece on the keywords that people are searching for that you associate with. Now you know, and you're a little more educated on what you put down there, and you're like, hey, put a keyword in there at the bottom of your YouTube video. I don't know what the hell to do. Now you do. And now you're clarifying both who you're trying to attract and clarifying what content people are looking for, and your marketing becomes a heck of a lot easier, and you did it all yourself with just that one step. And that alone is worth this entire podcast, Chris. Honest to God, that's great. Seriously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. And you can use that keyword research too to figure out, like, oh, we should write some blog articles or create some content around these topics. Like,
absolutely.
So you can use that for a lot of different things.
Because I think a lot of people assume they know who they're serving and what people are looking for. And sometimes they neglect to either ask or confirm. And this is going to help you do that a lot. And it's going to help. Think about the layered approach to the way that you speak, the way that you talk about stuff, the way that you write, the way that you tweet, the way that you post will all change based on either your confirmations or your utter realizations you've been doing it wrong the whole time through the keywords. And that's such a great thing. Okay, so this is it's one of those awkward moments where, like, we've already come up against our time and we haven't even dived into like the majority of like we could do, but I'm sure that people have questions galore, and they probably want to explore even further ways that they can get involved in the Google Ad Grant realm. They're probably going to want to get a hold of you. So we should probably do and get a way that people can get a hold of you, so they can ask those questions directly to somebody who's essentially the master at doing this. Chris, how do people get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of Beeline? Give us the who, what, where, when, why.
Yeah, sure. So if you go to our site, yourbeeline.com, you can, and under the resources, you can find an ad grants quiz.
Ooh.
And that will tell you if you're eligible, and more importantly, if your organization is ready for that program right now, if it's going to be a good fit for you, if you're going to be able to get good results from it. It's a quiz. It's not a person evaluating you, so just take that into account. But it gives you a quick answer, and it'll just help you answer that question. Should we pursue this right now? The next thing you can do is, of course, you can email me. You can email me at chris@yourbeeline.com, and you can ask me any questions you have, or you can feel free to book a call with us under our contact. There's a meeting booking right there on our site. So those are the ways you could reach out and kind of get an idea if this is the right pursuit for you, or right platform for you to pursue, to grow your donor list, to expand your missions, and to help you get more awareness and people finding you.
We're going to make sure that all those links are in the show notes too. So you just go down there and click. After you listen to this, just get back out of there, click on it, go set up a meeting with Chris, or just go check him out at yourbeeline.com and go and take the quiz, because that'll help you sort of navigate these things. This has been one of the more delightful and educational podcasts that we've done in a very long time. And again, that keyword conversation towards the end of this podcast was so freaking brilliant. Is going to help you and your organization immensely. Chris, I cannot thank you enough for being a guest this time on the official Do Good Better podcast. And of course, we're going to have you back because this is, we just got started, my friend. This is great.
Looking forward to it.
I appreciate it. Check them out. Go click there. Go find Chris online. Go follow him everywhere and go download and take a quiz. Do all the things. Super great. Thanks for being a guest, my friend. We'll talk to you guys next time here on the official Do Good Better podcast.